At school, I gravitated to people that had drugs and drank. I would drink to blackout. I would think of nothing about soiling myself. I would think of nothing about drinking to the point of vomiting and then going back for more. I've learned that most people think vomiting is a clue to stopping, but I just couldn't slow down, and that was the truth of it. School was total academic failure. I achieved nothing. I had the odd job, one in marketing, one working with a sugar broker in the city. And then I fell into the career that I'm in at the moment, which was, for some reason, I took to it like a duck to water. I had no friendships, no relationships. My old user friends had all gone to university, and I didn't hang around with people who drank or used. I was obsessive about my work. I would go into the office in my 20s, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then work till 9 o'clock at night, and then do 3 hours of work at home. It was an obsession. That's all I did. I remember my first line of coke vividly. I was in a club in the West End. I took a line in the lavatory. And I remember it being exactly the same feelings when I took my first drink, except I felt superhuman immediately. And I thought, I want some of this, I want more of this, and more of this. I absolutely love cocaine. I was an occasional user. I would buy a packet of cocaine with 3 or 4 grams in it, and that would last me for a weekend or two. I don't remember my 30s. I call it the lost decade, and about that I am very sad because I have no memories of being with my children or being at a parents' evening. I was never present, and I was using work as an excuse to use and using the family as an excuse not to go to work at all. I became highly manipulative. Towards the end, I would have some days where I'd be with a sex worker 5 or 6 times the same day and go through 10 grams of coke. I don't think I spent half a day at the office, and I would have a few grams of coke before I went to the office, and I would use throughout the whole day. I remember trying to add it up, and I must have gone through £1.5 million, maybe £2 million worth, which became an expensive habit. I must have tried hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times to stop. But every time I went on a bender, the result was the same. My nose would be bleeding and 1 or 2 days, no sleep. I would lie to my wife about having an all-nighter at work, and I would lie to the office. I would tell the office that my wife had a terminal disease and that she was unwell, and it was just to create some sort of sense of sympathy and compassion at work, basically taking the heat off me. Every time I went on one of these binges, I would make a sacred promise. I would literally promise to myself that this would be the last one, the last bender, the last occasion when I would engage in such debauched behaviour and needed to sort my life out. But 2 days later, I was back at it. It was the most horrendous breach of promise to myself. My world came crashing down when a partner of mine, who could clearly see my behaviour was insane, and I was given a fait accompli. I needed to go and get some help. And I denied that I was on drugs. And I said it was, they didn't know what they were talking about, it was nonsense, it was stress. But 24 hours later, I cracked, and I just blurted out that he was right. I had a problem with drugs, but no more than that. And I remember walking with my HR director around the city in tears. I arrived at LifeWorks on a Monday morning. I got a black cab out there, but I was completely broken. I decided to have one last big bash at the weekend, and my children were all crying, wanting to know what was wrong with Daddy, but I was still using. I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop. And I turned up at LifeWorks, and that for me was the beginning of the transformation. I'd packed swimming trunks and all sorts of other ridiculous things, thinking I was going on a weekend retreat. I mean, LifeWorks, it is a fantastic place, but it doesn't intend to be a spa. And I was met by the most wonderful woman. The thing that was fantastic about LifeWorks was that very early on, it was explained to me anyway, that addiction is really a disease that manifests itself in a variety of different ways, whether it be alcoholism or food issues or gambling or any other sort of different processes. And I understood that. And it takes a very holistic approach to addiction. And I mean, the important thing about that is that you don't ever feel alone. You don't ever feel you're a freak. I had absolutely no clue, but I just thought, I'm home, these people are speaking the truth, and these people have got the same problems that I've got. The counsellors there, they're very clever people. Many of them are still in recovery. So the various phases you go through, they monitor and generally confront you. They're very good at knowing if you're hiding, and their job is to prick that bubble. They do it very well. They do it very gently. It's a lovely place. I'm somebody who thought I didn't do emotions, and I carried that with me, through my entire 30s. There's a film with Danny DeVito in it, and in it he plays an extraordinarily wealthy character. And in it, this scene, he says, I own that building, I own that bus company. And then he comes up with a line as he's standing on top of his skyscraper. He says, "He who dies with most toys wins." And that was my mantra. I never realised it was a comedy film. That was a comic line. I thought it was a fantastic line. So the idea of thawing out and relaxing and taking responsibility for my life, of acupuncture, yoga, meditation, these were totally and utterly alien to me. I practiced meditation, and I never thought I'd do that. I thought I was going to die a junkie. I thought I was going to die a rich junkie, but I thought I was going to die young. So the idea that if you'd said to me 8 years ago, you're going to believe in something, you're going to believe in life, you're going to have a great relationship with your children, you're going to have your children back in your life, you're going to care for your wife, you're going to be there to support her, and she's going to be there to support you, and you're going to learn about a nurturing relationship, I don't know what I would have said. And all that started at LifeWorks. Coming down in the morning and doing meditation. Was I self-conscious? Absolutely, I was self-conscious. Did I think it was of any therapeutic value? Well, I loved it towards the end, but at that time I was someone who instant gratification was too slow, and meditating was like a sort of glacial pace, and that was profoundly frustrating. But slowly and surely it started to work, and my mind began to clear, and I began to see where I'd gone wrong. I began to see what I needed. The point about LifeWorks is that they don't just shut the door and say bye. I mean, you can say bye if you want to. I mean, you don't have to come in the first place if you don't want to. But the aftercare is a thing that keeps you connected. Aftercare is going back regularly to see your primary counsellor and the people you were there with, so you don't feel isolated. So there is somewhere you feel safe that you can go back to. I was encouraged to do that for the first year, and they prepare you pretty well. It's a very special place, and when I go down the drive, I still get this real sense of going back, because that's where it all began. That was my gateway. Like Alice in Wonderland, that was my walking through the looking glass moment. I don't think LifeWorks on its own made me clean, but LifeWorks was my gateway. That was my looking glass moment. I have my children back in my life, and I am somebody who, as I said to you, feels a tremendous shame that they were in the way, and now they're anything but in the way. I actually have a relationship with them, and I never believed I would have. I thought I'd done too much damage with my children, but I would never have a relationship with them. I thought my wife would be the one who had the relationship with them, and I'd be this distant figure. Last night, it was my son's 18th birthday, and at midnight he sent me a text saying, "Dad, I really love you." I never understood how people could read to their children. I couldn't. I just resented it. And the reason was because I was in drug addiction. But tonight I'm going to go home, and my youngest daughter and I will finish off our English homework, and I'm going to love doing it because it's a great story. My son is going to be working with his sister for her party, and the family is all safe. It's all at home. We all get on. We all love each other very much. And that was not on the cards 8 years ago. However dark it is, there is help. I never thought I'd get out of that situation. I never believed that my life could be what it is today. If you told me or showed me a movie, I would say that was a lie.